Birthdays. Gotta love them. An opportunity to look back on the time you spent and look forward to the years on the horizon. An avenue to retrospection and introspection alike, where festivities and fulfillment join into one. A time for cake, games, friends, presents, parties, fear, family, what? Animal Crossing New Horizons just turned 4 years old, meaning it's old enough to, drive. I'm not the first and definitely won't be the last to say it, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't having trouble processing this. Regardless of any issues I may have with the game, I can't pretend like New Horizons wasn't one of the most significant releases of my life. Knowing that 4 years have passed since that fateful day in the midst of the world collapsing is insane to me. But as much as I'd love to talk more exclusively about the birthday game in question, I still feel like I've said everything I've wanted to say about New Horizons, which is a lot. It's a lot of things. Until Animal Crossing 6 is around the corner and I drop my inevitable looking back on New Horizons video where I stare wistfully into the distance in the thumbnail, I think I'm pretty much New Horizons'd out. So instead, I'm invoking that latter part of birthday philosophy and looking to the future. The game itself might not have any more conversation points for me, but its lasting effect in relation to the series' future? Oh, you know I'm always down to talk about that. But today we're doing things a little differently. New Horizons, no matter your opinion of it, is the definition of an influential game. There's a lot to cover in regards to its potential impact, with a lot of elements varying in quality. So, to keep things nice and organized, and avoid making fun of the birthday game too much, we're dividing New Horizons' impact into the good and the bad. While we'll obviously be basing everything around information from the game's reception, I'm gonna bring out the subjectivity warning just in case. But with that said, let's get started with some positivity. Animal Crossing New Horizons was inarguably a major success. At 45 million units sold, the game earned itself the title of second best-selling Switch game, beating out other major hits like Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, and Smash Ultimate to achieve this. And to put that into even greater perspective, New Horizons is the 14th best-selling video game ever, likely 13th by the end of this year. The positive impact that sort of achievement can have on a franchise cannot be overstated. For one, an uptick in development priority is near inevitable. These sorts of numbers don't just fly under a company's radar. You can count on the fact that Nintendo is adjusting their plans for the series to meet this new demand as we speak. Not only does this mean that Animal Crossing games will likely be made quicker, hopefully avoiding the infamous 7 years between New Leaf and New Horizons, but it also means Nintendo's more likely to keep support running after the fact. New Horizons fans were not happy with the update cutoff. I still see people asking Isabelle for new content on Twitter to this day, which, like, come on, but I'd bet on the fact that Nintendo's looking to avoid that sort of pestering next time around. In a single generation, the Animal Crossing fanbase went from being big to one of their biggest. Which is another positive I should mention. More people get to play Animal Crossing. I definitely understand why some people feel uneasy about a thing they like becoming a viral sensation, but for me, pretty much all that discomfort is eclipsed by the joy I get in seeing just how far the series has come. For every one random controversy weirdo, there's 100 new players forming memories and falling in love with the franchise, just like we all did. And that's not something I could ever be upset by. But let's circle back to development for a second, because there's definitely something else to consider. Spin-offs. New Horizons' popularity only increases the chances of us getting some creatively charming Animal Crossing spin-off games down the road. If New Leaf's 13 million was enough to spark 3, just imagine what we could get after New Horizons' insane numbers. They might even be good. Personally, I'd love to work as a full-time barista at the Roost or have a Rossetti-focused anything, but that's a topic for a different video. Sales numbers and hypothetical side games are cool, but let's take a look at something a little more tangible: gameplay. New Horizons marked a major shift for the Animal Crossing franchise and brought a lot of stellar new concepts to the table for future titles to expand upon. First and foremost, obviously, designing and personalization gets the spotlight. Never before has Animal Crossing introduced a feature that, according to people who are not me, makes returning to previous games kinda difficult. The customization that this game introduced is amazing, allowing each island to look incredibly distinct. Animal Crossing 6 is absolutely going to evolve this even further, injecting even more individuality into every player's towns. But summing up New Horizons additions as solely designing based would be disingenuous. Crafting, cooking, island expedition, Nook Mile achievements, all great additions that can effectively chart this franchise's future. And like I said in a recent prediction video, the value that comes from New Horizons providing a visual and developmental base for its successor should not be overlooked. The path that this game has paved for later entries is one of creativity and player control, which will inevitably strike a chord with a large portion of current fans and new fans alike. Decades from now, I feel confident that New Horizons will be seen as the most pivotal Animal Crossing game in history. My goal in my 4 years of coverage has never been to imply that New Horizons was devoid of good elements. This is obviously a game crafted with a lot of love, and has its fans for a reason. That said, look at the time. Animal Crossing New Horizons' success, in my eyes, is a double-edged sword. We've just gone over the wealth of good that'll arise from it, so I'm not going to pretend like it's all bad, but there are absolutely some points of concern. First up, let's circle back around to those sales numbers. You know what that is? 45 million reasons to drop the next Animal Crossing game as soon as possible. In a vacuum, that sounds like a good thing. Like I said, I don't think anyone wants another 7-year gap, but then you look at the launch of New Horizons and it's like, oh no. In spite of being delayed out of 2019, this game dropped in a very rough state. With a fraction of its predecessor's special characters, numerous series staple features being removed, and many quality of life additions yet to arrive, Nintendo is very lucky that criticism was heavily weakened by the honeymoon period and the world turning upside down. Personally, I've always been of the belief that after delaying the game once, Nintendo simply wasn't willing to delay it again. Hence why we had mentions of Brewster in the Files, additions like Leaf and Red coming 1 month into the update cycle despite making no sense as update exclusives, etc. But if they were this committed to getting New Horizons out relatively early, who's to say what impact that sort of philosophy could have on the next game? The incentive to drop Animal Crossing in the early days of a new system's life is 10 times stronger than it's ever been. System seller is an understatement at this point. Sure, fans complain about the state of the game, but that fact is drowned out by the enormous pile of New Horizons earnings currently sitting in the Nintendo warehouse. Whenever I say this, I have to reiterate that this isn't on the devs. Anyone who claims that, oh, New Horizons launched how it did because of a lazy development team is completely delusional. The people who put their souls into creating this franchise care about it more than you and I ever could. Corporate deadlines are the issue here, and New Horizons is now a shining example of the fact that sometimes rushing something out at the right time is the profitable move, which could be an extreme detriment to Animal Crossing 6. But hey, that's okay, right? Even if the launch is mediocre, we could always see the game filled out more with... Okay, this is something I've gotta zoom past just because of redundancy. If you want to see me talk about the terrifying impact of free updates to the Animal Crossing series, I've talked about it at length at multiple times in the past. But just to give you the cliff notes, this is horrifying. If New Horizons sales numbers are what incentivizes a rushed Animal Crossing 6 release, free updates are what give it the means to occur. Who needs cooking or farming or island tours? Just spend half the game's lifecycle playing catch-up with its predecessor. Executed properly, free updates could be an incredible addition to this franchise, routinely reinvigorating the experience with fresh, new ideas. But they could just as easily be used as a crutch to soften the blow of a lackluster launch. We'll just have to wait and see. Gameplay though, let's talk about it. And this is where I've got to emphasize that subjectivity. Happy for everyone who adores this direction, my take is no more valuable than yours, yada yada yada, but I'm scared, man! Is New Horizons being a turning point for the franchise really such a good thing if we're turning away from paradise? To put it plainly, the things New Horizons chooses to focus on are not really the core elements I associate with Animal Crossing. Designing over interaction, customization over character, blah blah blah, you've heard this for 4 years. This franchise will never be the same after Animal Crossing 6. It is at the crossroads of its destiny. If it doubles down on New Horizons' new path, letting progression, animals, and immersion fall further to the wayside while expanding customization to incredible new heights, it's unlikely we'll ever see a return to the philosophies of the series' past. If they work to address some of New Horizons' criticism and pair the franchise's two identities hand in hand, the future could be a whole lot brighter, at least for me. And it's the not knowing that's killing me. Things could go either way. Sure, New Horizons being a rousing success encourages that former line of thinking, but the Animal Crossing team has always been hyper-receptive to criticism. It's the whole reason we got New Leaf after City Folk. They listened to fans. That said, New Horizons sold 10 times more units than City Folk did, so maybe they'll be more inclined to listen to that. Right now, it's impossible to know. To end this video on a more positive note, this isn't set in stone. In fact, neither half of New Horizons' impact is. The legacy this game leaves behind will be a whole lot clearer once its successor is actually upon us, but until then, all we can do is speculate. Or cower, in my case. But scared as I may be, I think I should say something that I haven't said in a while. Thanks, New Horizons. Seriously, that thing I said in the beginning about this being one of the most significant releases of my life isn't an understatement. Without New Horizons, I probably wouldn't have an audience, at least not to the extent I do now. The very first video I ever created, which is gone, don't look for it, was an Animal Crossing Switch wishlist video, something I definitely plan to honor later this year. And yeah, at this point I'm feeling nostalgic enough to look back on my time with the game in a fonder light. So happy birthday, New Horizons. A 6 out of 10 that captured my heart. But, as always, I'd love to hear what you think. What do you suspect Animal Crossing's future looks like? And how do you feel about New Horizons 4 years later? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you all later.